It's a new year. 2023 is here. Putting on my list of minis. Newsies and let's cheers. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about the past. Time to get on the Not Your Average Joe podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Not Your Average Joe. So today we have another topic that I want to talk about that is very big and very important to my guests for sure. And this is a new guest that we actually have here. So I want to welcome Kelly to my channel. This is her first time being here, and I've known Kelly for a long time actually. I've known her ever since I was a kid for two reasons. One reason is because she was actually my next door neighbor at one point. So I knew her and her brother Matt and their family. And I knew her as Kelly Borsma, and now she is married and with children. So she's now Kelly Green. So that's one reason why I know her. And another reason why I know her even more than just our next door neighbor is because she was good friends with my sister Mimi, and they still keep up with each other to this day. They went to school together, graduated together, and all that. So, I'm glad that she is able to be here today. So, welcome to the channel and thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad that we're going to get to talk about this topic because I feel like it's a topic that some viewers may be going through, and there's actually a part two to this topic. So I actually did part one on this topic a month or two ago with my friend Devin. The topic of today is on life changes. So in part one, I talked to my friend Devin about things that we have gone through in our lives. Like we've gone through just things like, your first day of kindergarten, like the transition from like middle school to high school, like graduation, your first job, stuff like that. But what's going to make this a part two is things that both me and Devin have not gone through, which is parenthood. So this is what we're going to be talking about today is like the parenthood side of things. One day I do hope to be a father and a husband, but right now it hasn't happened. So, I think right now just talking about, my guests and, her journey as far as becoming a parent is definitely going to be great because one big reason why I do this podcast, I know one big reason I want people to know, I guess, more about my life, but I also want people to know more about my guest's life and like, um, you know, and that viewers can relate to more than, just the stuff that I've gone through. So I think it's important to hear other people's perspectives and life stories and like their side of things when it comes to something like this that I've never gone through. So I have a few questions that I'm going to be asking Kelly, and I will put in any input where needed, but I may not be doing as much talking. I may be doing a lot more listening because it's a different journey that Kelly has been going through as far as with her daughter, and it's something that I've, not really gone through, that's for sure. So, I think I just want to do a lot more listening and add a little bit of input here and there where I can, but I'm gonna just, definitely, just take this all in, and I hope viewers that you take this all in as well, and that you enjoy this episode. So we're going to go ahead and get into this first question. So many people, of course, say that when you become a parent, that there are challenges in life, and I'm sure that rings true for your life. And just based off
Mhm.
seeing like your social media posts, I know that there are some like very rewarding moments and also some very like tough battles that you have to go through that like not a typical or average set of parents have to go through. So I was wondering if you can share with everybody kind of your story and like what are some of these battles that you have to go through that like most people don't even have to worry about.
Right. Yeah, because when you get married and start on that journey of parenthood, like it really is, those are big changes in itself and getting married in that life. And my husband already had two children, so I was already having to adjust to being a stepmother to one child who was living in the home and another child who was living with her mom. And there's a big age difference. So I knew going in, like, if we had a child, his youngest was already six, 7, bordering 7, before Faron was born. So, because she's 3, he's 10 now. Yeah, so 7 years. And there's going to be a big difference. And I remember before she was born, he was like, "Yay, I'm going to have a sibling, but she's not going to be able to go in my room," and all this, like expecting her to come out of the womb walking and talking and stuff. Like, there's a big gap here. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah. But we were really excited when we found out that we were pregnant, and then found out her gender, and I really wanted a girl anyway. So I was really excited. And during that pregnancy, I don't know if you ever noticed, but I didn't really have a big belly bump. Um, and every time we went to an ultrasound, and I had, was already high risk for having epilepsy myself. So I had to go to more ultrasounds, and they always told me, "Well, she's measuring pretty small." So I was like, "Okay." And they paid more closer attention to her head is really small. So we were always concerned, or I was always like trying to have faith, like, she's going to be fine. She's perfect. Whatever is going on, she's perfect. That's fine. We'll deal with it if there's anything wrong. Um, And then, like, towards the end of the pregnancy, they were like, "Okay, well, she's evening out," and they did an MRI to make sure that everything was fine. And the radiologist said, "Everything looks good. She looks fine." And, um, when she was born, she was 4 pounds, 6 ounces. So she was small. We knew she was small. She's crying right now. um, but, um, and so she was a preemie, and we were in the hospital for about a week, which was just I remember being in the hospital and just very stressed out because it was all new. I was like, "Okay, I have a child. I have a daughter." I had to get used to calling myself mommy, like, "Mommy's right here. Mommy's holding you," or whatever, and going through the changes of, like, I never changed a diaper before. And I had to ask the nurse, "Can I change her diaper?" And they were like, "Of course." And I was like, "Okay, show me how." Because I don't know what I'm doing. Um, and she would cry, and I'd be like trying my best to calm her down. And, it felt like I wasn't doing enough. I would like start crying, and I'm like asking the nurse, "Can you please help me? I don't know what to do. She's not stopping. She's not stopping crying, and I just don't know what to do." And they would help and calm her down, and just really made you feel like, I'm not good enough. Like, I have this baby, and she's not calming down for her mother, and I'm just not doing a good enough job. So it's really hard um to kind of go through that and get used to that adjustment, and even coming home to get used to the adjustment of having a baby, and then you're breastfeeding, and then you're trying to make bottles, and your husband's trying to help, and now she's crying so much we're sleeping separately. And, because that just ended up being how it was. So it's stressful becoming a parent, all in itself. And I'm sure it's stressful for anybody. So even though, and I'm going to talk about it here more in a second, but even though as she's special needs now, it's just, um, I don't like to say that, you know, that we're any kind of special parents. Like, people like to say, it takes a special person to take care of a special needs child. No, every parent's the same, is what I like to think. If it was your child, you would do the same thing. You always make that adjustment to try to care for your child no matter what they need. Um, and so, and when it wasn't until 5 months that she had her first seizure, but I remember those first few months that, you know, a family member was always concerned. They were like, she's always looking around. She's not focusing on anything. She's not doing the things that a typical 3, 4, 5-month-old child would do. And I'm like, she's still within that time frame of meeting those milestones. I talked to her
Mhm.
pediatrician about it, and she was like, no, she's still in that time frame. She's just going, at her own pace. And so I wasn't worried about it, and I always had faith. Everything is fine. She's just doing her thing. Like, she's perfect. You never want to think that there's something wrong with your child. And I still don't believe that there's something wrong. Um, but it got to a point where this family member didn't even want to give her my breast milk because of my condition of having epilepsy and having to take medicine, that somehow my medicine was causing her to be in delay. So they didn't even want to give her my breast milk. And, of course, that would make any mother, again, feel upset. Like, I'm failing in another way.
Mm.
But when she was 5 months old, she had her first seizure, and my mother-in-law, and she was staying with her while I went and started going back to work. And that's another thing that's hard in itself. You now have to go to work and leave your child in the care of somebody else, and you're missing out on those things, those day-to-day things that, okay, something could happen today and I'm going to miss it. She could say her first word. She could start crawling or walking. Like, I was freaking out going back to work because I'm going to miss these moments that are so crucial. I remember she wanted to take her to the zoo, and I was like, all these firsts for her, I need to be there. Don't do anything with her. That's a first, because that's for me and my husband. So it's hard. That's a big thing I think every parent can relate to, is going back to work after having a child. It's so hard. Um, but when she had this first seizure, my mother-in-law rushed her to the hospital. We got there, and they did, I forget what the name of the procedure was, basically where they did a test on fluid in her spine to see if there was anything wrong. They did a CT scan, they did an X-ray, ultimately we finally were able to do an MRI, and then we did genetic testing, and they were just saying, okay, she has microcephaly. We know that her head is small. Her head is measuring small. It's at the 0 percentile. Okay. So most babies, they come out and it's at least above 50 percentile, and she was at 0. And when they did the MRI, they found out that she has very little to none of a corpus callosum, which basically means the barrier between the left and the right side of the brain is almost non-existent. So, and it's called the corpus callosum, where the two sides of the brain, read each other. So, and that's a big part of her condition and what causes the developmental delay. When we found out from her genetic testing that she has a condition called FOXG1 syndrome, which means that in box 1 of the first gene that is formed in your brain, there is a mutation in that gene. And there's different kinds of genes with FOXG1, or different kinds of mutations, rather, where it could be a deletion in the gene, because everything is a sequence, it's a code. There's letters that are associated with each part of the gene. There could be a piece that's missing. There could be a piece that's fragmented. There could be what in her case is what's called a missense. It's basically where the letters don't spell correctly, like the letters are kind of misspelled. So she's got a missense mutation in this particular gene. And what they say is that there's a spectrum. Just like autism, there's a spectrum of the condition. There is the most severe end, to the less severe end, and the missense mutation is actually on the less severe end of that spectrum. So you kind of have hope there. Um, and, you know, her neurologist, like when he told us, and my mother-in-law was with us, and he was like, you need to remember this. There is nothing that you did that was wrong, because here in my mind, I'm thinking, I have epilepsy. I caused this, you know, like, because she had a seizure, like, this is all me. And he's like, no, there's nothing that you did that was wrong. This is just what happened to her gene. And he said, and don't get on any social media and talk to other people and like get these thoughts in your head of this is what she's going to be like. Don't think that she's going to be in a wheelchair or she's never going to attain these things. And he was very calm and explained it thoroughly. He was like, just wait, like, until we can get more answers. Because it was scary, and I couldn't help but think it was my fault. And he was very calm in explaining it wasn't. And a month later, we met with a research team that does more research on Rett syndrome. And I was thinking, okay, he does research on FOXG1, you know, as well, because they're very similar. If you look up FOXG1 syndrome, you'll also read that it hasn't been until recently that it's been considered its own thing, its own condition. It's always been considered a variant of Rett syndrome, whereas now recently it's all on its own. It's independent. It's its independent diagnosis. So when they sent us to this research clinic to talk to this neurologist and geneticist and the nurses and staff that also care for these people with the diagnosis, you know, they kind of evaluated her skills and everything that she could do at that point and what her milestone was. And it struck me when he said, you know, we do research on numerous people with Rett syndrome, but I've only seen half a dozen of people with FOXG1. I was like, that's only 6.
Mm.
Really put that into perspective of how rare that was.
Yeah.
And I was like, that just blew my mind. I was like, it's that rare. Like you've seen thousands of other people with Rett syndrome, and you've only seen 6 people with FOXG1. So it just blew my mind. And he connected me with another parent who also has a child with FOXG1 syndrome, who really connected me with the other families of children with FOXG1 in the state of Alabama. So I got to talk to them. And then they also told me about the social media support groups, like on Facebook, to talk to other parents, not just locally, but throughout the world. So, and right now, as of right now, I think there's less than 1,000 people that we know of worldwide that has FOXG1 syndrome. So it, yeah. And it's interesting to see all these other children throughout the world and the variables and what extent of their capabilities, and it's just mind blowing to talk to and relate to so many people around the world. It really is just, we're a very close community. So, but yeah, to go from just thinking that you're having a perfect child, and she's still perfect. She is still perfect. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot more stressful to go into that parenthood journey, knowing that it's not going to be the same as other families. So,
Yeah, I know I thank you for sharing for sure, because I know if like this being your first like biological child, I can see how, it's first thing like you said, it's like, a new challenge just becoming a mom in general. Like I was like, you had to get used to being a stepmom, first, and then you had to become a biological mother to where like that like everything, is handed to you. Like you're like the main one responsible, like you and your husband. So just
Mhm.
like getting used to stuff, even like for me, like even though I've had a bunch of nephews and nieces, I've still never done a diaper change as well. So like
Really?
even yeah, I still have never done one. And I hope that no one hears this and offers like, hey, you can go change a diaper. Like, no, I'm good. You can you can keep that diaper over there. I'll change my
Yeah.
own baby's diaper in the future,
My,
I
my
guess.
my brother, I changed my niece's diaper once, and it was just a number one diaper, and he was like, "You want to do the number two?" I was no, nope, 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 nope.
Same
And I
here.
only changed that one diaper.
Yeah, same here. Like if it was a number one, I'm like, okay, maybe it's doable. But number two, it's like, I'll wait for my own baby. Thank you very much. So, but like you were talking about how like that was even something that you had to get used to, was like changing diapers and stuff like that for your own baby. And then just on top of that, just what happened here in the very first few months of her life, with her seizure, definitely had to be scary to go through, just because like one all the what ifs go in your head, and like you said, you start wondering, is it your fault? Like, did this happen because of my history with epilepsy? And I'm glad that the doctors were very reassuring and comforting towards you in that sense, and were
Mhm.
very understanding of your situation, because I think anybody would question that for real. Like if I had something and I felt like I passed something down to my kid, I would start thinking like this is on me. But I'm so glad that there was that reassurance of that it was just this was just kind of how it happened, and what had nothing to
Mhm.
do with like genetics or anything like that. So I'm glad that there was that comfort there. And also I'm
Right.
glad that there was that comfort to where you got to meet other families that are going through the same exact situation, which is mind blowing that it's less than 1,000 people, and there's like getting close to 8 billion in this world. That is so rare. It's mind blowing. And that's one reason why I'm glad that you were willing to want to do this topic, is because there may be other family members that their kids may be going through the same kind of episodes, as far as like seizures and whatever the case may be that comes with that. And they may be looking for answers, and you never know, they may run into this episode and may figure out, hey, let me go to the doctor and see if this may be what it is. So, this may be
Yeah.
bringing awareness to the situation, as well as building community for, all of y'all to come together and to, share stories and questions and concerns
Right.
that you have with this situation for sure.
Yeah. Because what we've learned in all of the research that's been happening, and the Fox G1 Research Foundation has been doing great work with trying to find like gene therapy and other solutions and a cure for the aspects of the Fox G1 syndrome. Like, I still don't know how far it will be able to progress, but that in what they're learning, because it's only been like within the last 5 years that they have named Fox G1 syndrome as its own entity, separate from Rett syndrome or separate from any other condition. Like, it's been compared to cerebral palsy and autism and a lot of other conditions that the appearance can appear the same. Um, so since the genetic testing now includes FOXG1 syndrome, there could be thousands more who probably have the same mutation, but they haven't had the genetic testing to show that. So they've already been diagnosed. That's that. They're continuing on their journey of therapy and treatment. for that other condition, but not necessarily know that the gene for FOXG1 or BOXG1, the first one that's created in your brain, that there's a mutation there that is causing all of these other aspects of behavior and development and seizures and movement disorders. And there's just a lot that is still unknown that the Research Foundation has been working to find solutions. So
Yeah, I think that's amazing that here in recent times that there's been a lot more research as far as like, trying to figure out, what exactly is. It's just because it's so rare, like you were mentioning earlier, and just knowing that, there's still a lot of unknowns that come with this. And there's like some of the external stuff, like you said, it kind of, people would automatically think, autism or cerebral palsy, or something like that. But it's like it's more to it than that. There's different like things that get mixed in, like something that is, probably different than, than your typical, cerebral palsy or autism, or, there may be
Mhm.
some similarities in a way, but, there may be, there's those few different things that like really make it to where, like you said, now they consider it its own entity. So I'm so glad that
Right.
there's a lot more research into this. And also, one other thing that I heard you mention that I actually loved hearing you say was that that it doesn't take like a special parent to raise a special kid, because like you said, if someone else was in that position, I think anybody would be willing to do what it takes to like do their research and to figure out what is the best way to get the care for my child. I feel like any parent would do that. Any
Mhm.
good loving parent would do that. So I'm glad that you said that. And I also am glad that you said about that like your child is perfect, like the way that she is, because a lot of people some people think of like when it comes to special needs or something like that, and people start thinking like, they almost start without saying it, they almost say like your kid or like your family member, your loved one is not normal. But it's like, really, at the end of the day, what is normal? Like, we're all
Right.
crazy
Right.
here in this world. So it's like we all have some crazy moments. So I think just, hearing you say that like your daughter is like perfect the way that she is, I loved hearing that. Just one big reason why I love that is because, of course, as you know, we have like a special need family member, my brother Jeremiah, in our
Mhm.
family. And like, I feel like I couldn't imagine, life being the same, like if he was what they would call normal, like without any kind
Right.
of special need, disability, or whatever the case may be. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. That like she's perfect just the way
Right.
she is.
And it's so it and I know everybody means well when they learn about your family member who is special needs. And one thing that, of course, I'm glad to hear while I'm praying for her that, you know, they've, you know, I'm glad that to hear they're praying for her. What hurts is when people say, I'm praying for her to get over it. Like it's just something that, she's sick, that that I'm praying for, that she'll come through and she'll get over it and she'll be better. And I'm like, you don't understand the nature of her condition. You can pray for her to get better, as in, um, obtaining those skills, to be able to eat normally and to sit up and crawl and roll over and walk, like all these things that we work on in therapy. But, there's certain people that say things that I know they mean well, everything, but it also it really shows that people just don't understand what it's like to be a special needs parent or family member. I don't know if you've ever heard people say things about Jeremiah that just kind of really set you back, and you're like, why would they say that? Like, do you understand like what that means or how hurtful that could be, or just you know, or what they say can just be ignorant. Like you just don't know better because you're not in that situation. So it's, you know, one of those things that has, you know, I think that anybody with a special needs family member or parent hears that, you know, you can, like I said, you can mean well, but it can also come um, depending on what it is.
Yeah, most definitely. I could definitely relate to this for sure because, like, having a special needs family member, like, I've heard people, I mean, I haven't actually heard people say this, but like, I know with Jeremiah, like, back when he was in high school, like, he had to do one of these, like, co-op kind of things, like, where, like, during school, like, he would have to have some kind of job. And he was
Mhm.
working at, like, a Publix, like, and I don't even know where exactly. He was like working at Publix at one point, and I guess like he messed up on something, and somebody like turned around to him, like asked him like, "Are you stupid?" or something like that, and like
Yeah,
hearing like that word "stupid," like and almost just like what it was very like triggering to me in a way because it's like he can't help, like there's some things that like it's just the way his brain functions or something like that, and like in it almost like you said, it almost what people say they prayed that like your daughter like gets over this. It almost makes it sound like something's wrong with them, and then, like that
yeah,
they just need to be healed. And it's like at the end of the day, this is like the way they are, and like you can hope to see improvements, but you can't just say you hope they become normal. That's almost like what they're saying, even if they're not
yeah,
meaning it that way, but that's almost what it comes across to like it's almost making it sound like hopefully one day your loved one will be normal. And it's
right, right,
it's like that doesn't really come off like it comes off, it gives me like I don't know, just a bad vibe, as well whenever I hear
yeah,
something like that. And or even hearing like the word like stupid is like
mhm,
let's not let's try to be more understanding because like you said, some people that don't have a family member that has special needs, like it's almost like they're never going to understand until they're in our shoes, basically they're in our
mhm,
position. But I just hope that, if anybody does listen to this or watches this, that, maybe they'll be more considerate towards people that have special needs and that, whether it is a severe case, whatever that may be, like if there's someone with special needs that is nonverbal, that isn't able to speak, compared to someone like my brother Jeremiah, who is able to speak to where most people can't tell anything's different about him maybe until he starts talking. Then there may be
mhm,
some things where people may be thinking like, wait, what did he say? And then sometimes I have to like kind of help, like I almost call it translating in a way. Like I just kind of help explain what he's trying to say to like a waitress or, whoever maybe asking him
right,
for his order or something like that. So I just hope that maybe people will be more considerate with what they say, even if it is coming from a good place, but like just maybe choosing our words a little bit more carefully.
right. And I think that's just like an education piece. And there's, you know, if I had it up, there's, I've seen some people post, you know, like this is what you say, but this is a better way of saying it, you
Hmm.
know. Um, so I've seen people post things like that, you know, other families, and you know, it's something that we all feel, and yeah, it's just spreading that awareness, and that's why it's important for us to have these conversations. Um, you know, we always have them about other situations like race, sexism, like all these other things, and you want to compare and say, well, why can't you be like this? Why can't you be like this? Or, you know, in this case, it's just like you said, like, why can't they just be normal? Like, normal's better. No, it's just different. Normal is more common, but everybody has their own special needs in a way. We all have different personalities or whatever. These are just medical special needs. So it is more time consuming. It does take a little bit more effort to make sure that they get the care that they need. Um, but I always tell people too, and it's funny that I've got two stepchildren, but I will always say that Favorite is easier than they are because she's predictable. She has instructions. like, you know, like I know what to do. I know how to take care of these situations. Whereas with a neurotypical child, you can't predict at all.
Mhm.
You don't know how to respond in a lot of situations. And I mean, a teenager and then a 10-year-old boy with an attitude, it's just, I don't know how to handle you. I know how to handle her. She's always sweet. She might cry and everything. And like right now, she was crying and upset, and we don't really know why. You're trying to do this diagnosis of like, okay, what do I do? But
Mhm.
when something goes wrong, at least you have a checkbox. Like you can figure
Yeah.
it out and do the process of elimination and what you can do. And there's instructions for what to do in each situation.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I like that. That there's at least, like you kind of know like your strategies and like to figure out what is going on. And there's, even, backup plans upon backup plans basically when it comes to that. So yeah, I like that. There's, that you kind of have somewhat of an idea. And then like if that's not it, then you can just kind of do, like I said, a process of elimination. And one big thing that like you mentioned, like about when it comes to stuff like, here in modern day culture, when we talk about things like, with, females and males having like, equality when it comes to like workplaces, or even like, race, gets thrown into the equation as well, or even like ageism. Like, you hear like different things, like different ages and stages of life, to where, you want everybody to have the same opportunities, once they get like out of high
Right,
school.
right.
And I think like even throwing something like, special needs into the category, I think it's super important and needs to be addressed more often, because I feel like not enough people talk about this, just because like not everybody, has something to where, like, I guess, has like a limitation, like when it comes to their disability, whatever that case may be. I feel like people almost think it's like out of sight, out of mind, but it's like
Mhm,
really at the end of the day, like there's a lot more out there than like people realize. Like you said, at the
mhm,
end of the day, we all have different like things that we even go through in our life, and we may be considered the normal people, but
mhm.
there's even like stuff like mental health, that comes into it,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
depression. There's, just even that, or even, things that can't be helped. Like, I have asthma. There's that I have bad vision. If I didn't have these contacts in, I wouldn't even know who I'm talking to. And so it's like,
Yeah.
there's we all have our flaws. So I think even those kind of flaws, for those that, have special needs, I think we should be the ones to help them, and to help them find opportunities to, make improvements, but not to where, we're not to where our motto is make everyone normal or something like that. I don't know if that makes any
Mhm.
sense, but like,
Yeah, it does.
just trying to, bring awareness. That's what we're trying to do here at the end of the day.
Right, right.
So my next question that I have for you is, I know we've kind of already, briefly touched on this, but, maybe you can talk a little bit more about this. So, with these kind of life changes that you've gone through, as far as with your daughter's journey, I'm sure there are moments where you become physically and like mentally and emotionally drained. So, like, how do you manage those moments where you kind of keep yourself in check? Like, do you do anything, like, do you have any new hobbies that, kind of help you get through life,
Mhm.
or something like, I know you mentioned like you have like a Facebook group of people that go through similarity kind of things. So like,
Right,
what are some things that you go through that like kind of help you keep yourself in check and mentally strong and all that?
right. Well, something I quickly realized after even having her was I need to be on some sort of medication to keep my cool because I was like, just had this severe anxiety. Like, she's crying. I don't know what to do. I'm frustrated. I don't like, I had to get some sort of medication to calm me down to handle those situations. So I'm on medication for one, and that's helped. Um, and I I have faith, and I what we were going to church before we had her, but now it's just hard. I'm scared to put her in that environment because it's very stimulating, and we were going to Church of the Highlands, and there's loud music, there's a lot going on, and for her condition it might be too much for
Mhm.
her, or even to trust to put her in the right hands in their caregiver, in their kids care during the service. But I've still always had faith through any medical procedure, including myself. Like when I had my own condition, I had to have brain surgery at one point. It's like it's going to be fine. It's just going to be fine. So you just have to have that faith, um, and we'll get her the treatment and everything, every opportunity in order to grow. Um, that we can, and we just try to be the best parents that we can. Um, I enjoy art, so I have been coloring a lot recently. Have my little coloring books, or I'll paint, or I'll do some sort of arts and crafts, and that just kind of gets my mind off of things. Watching TV when I get home from work just helps me zone out. Still care for her and stuff, and she chills. Like, she's non-mobile, so she chills in her recliner and watches TV, and we play and everything and go through the motions. But, relaxing at the end of the night, just watching TV for myself, like, that's good. I don't know. We try to have family time, with everybody, and even with the other kids. And like last night, we went to the drive-in. Obviously, she doesn't really care to enjoy it. She's just hanging out, but we'll watch the movie. We went and saw Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumanium or whatever, and it was really good if you hadn't seen it.
Mhm.
Um, but she started like kind of getting fussy. She was just like, okay, this isn't for me. So my oldest, her stepdaughter, she pulled out her phone and started playing Bluey. And then Fayron's in the back. She's like, hey, like enjoying that. So we still try to have family time and go do the normal things. It's just it looks a little different because she can't participate like we want her to.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, we do the best that we can. I try to find ways to calm myself. Medication, coloring. I was working out, and that kind of helped, but it has also took away time from the family.
Mhm.
So I stopped doing that. um, so yeah, we do what we can. My husband plays games.
Yeah, so as long as you're, giving it your best effort and trying to make that family time, I definitely don't see where you can go wrong with that. So that's good that, you try to find ways for all of the family to be involved. And like you said, even with your daughter, she
Mhm.
may not been into the whole drive-in movie kind of thing, but like you said, your stepdaughter had that Bluey and it's like, okay, I'm good now. So it's like,
Yeah,
this is gonna work. So, I think trying to find those moments and even trying to make time for yourself, like you said, with coloring or, working out at one point, or even listening to music or watching TV, I think
hmm
those are really important to, of course, you're always going to be mom first, but at the same time, that there's those moments in life where like, you got to take a little bit of time to yourself. And I'm glad that you find those moments where like
yeah,
that it's good to just go color, just kind of take your mind off of things. And because you don't want to constantly just be on the go and stressed out and wondering like, oh my gosh, like I need to do this and this. So I'm glad that
yeah.
you find those moments for sure.
Yeah, and those are those self-care moments, but then when you have the more severe situations when we deal with, like, she's in the hospital and, for whatever reason, or there's a change in treatment and, we have questions about it, and we go to our Facebook group and reach out and try to be like, okay, has anybody gone through this before? Asking for prayers because they understand what we would be going through. And, we'll have one-on-one conversations through Facebook Messenger and just be like, hey, how's it going? Like, what's going on? And we can relate and talk. We can talk about new medications and how that might affect your child compared to my child. Or, like recently I posted, 2 videos that, you know, might have been a seizure, might have not. I still don't really have an answer. I asked her neurologist just the other day, and he was like, I need a full body video in order to really give you an answer. But on the Facebook group, they were like, well, it just looks like, um, you know, not dysphagia, just the movements, just her movements doing, what she was doing. Or in the other video, they thought that it was just like more of a reflux kind of response to something, but in a way it also kind of looked like a seizure. So it's really hard to tell. And her neurologist saw the videos that I shared with the Facebook family, and he couldn't really put a label on it either. He said he didn't really think it was a seizure, but he couldn't really tell either because it was only like waist up that he could see. He thought that the legs might have something more to tell. But yeah, I mean, every time we're in the hospital, I'm talking to multiple other parents, families, and getting their input, or just have those conversations of, are you okay? What's going on? And, how can I help? So that's always been really comforting, because
Yeah.
you talk to family or friends and they can, give you as much comfort as they can, but it's something different entirely when you're talking to somebody who's been there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely relate to this in a way, like not with special needs, but like, earlier before the recording started, I know we were talking about my mom and her situation with
Mhm.
colon cancer. And, it's different when somebody, like, someone from the outside looking in that's never gone through, like, cancer or have had a loved one that's gone through cancer. Like when they tell you they're praying for you, definitely I appreciate those for sure, their thoughts and prayers. But when somebody else, has had a family member that's gone through it, I feel like it feels different. Like it just feels like,
Mhm.
they truly know what it feels like to go through that, scary, wondering what ifs, like even with your situation, like, wondering if if your daughter is having a seizure or not, like, what could this be, and then you have those people, like, your family and friends that, don't, aren't like dealing with this situation on a daily, they can only give you what they can just see just from their eyes. But, with those people in your community, on your Facebook community, they can actually, give you more of a, somewhat of an accurate, or from what they've experienced, what
Mm.
they've gone through. They give you a more, I guess, not really a diagnosis, but more of just like kind of an answer or solution to your question, and maybe figuring out ways to, help you through those moments of, like even with you, like with your mental health and with your even with your faith, like, yeah, I know you mentioned that. So I think that's just really important to have that community. So like faith and community, I love those two answers because,
Mhm.
that can go for any situation, kind of even like I said, for me with my mom going through cancer. So, I hope that that brings, some hope to people that, like, if you're going through something, even if it isn't something like what Kelly's gone through or what I've gone through, you know, just, build on your faith, and then also, find that community of people that are going through the same exact situations, and and try to be, as open and honest, and share your experiences too. I think that's super important.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's even, as far as finding care, there's only, my mother-in-law that we feel comfortable leaving Faron with to take care of while we go and have a date or
Hmm.
something. There's no one else that we feel comfortable caring for her, outside of our family or anything. Like even on my side of the family, if they don't know what a seizure looks like or how to respond to it, or she's also G-tube fed and you don't know how to work the equipment, or if she ever needs oxygen, you need people, someone who's educated to do that. And of course, me and my husband know what to do, and his mom used to be a nurse, so she knows what to do, but nobody else does. So we're like, it's also different even just to find a caregiver so that you can have a break. Um, for us, it's like always dependent on when she's available.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's different.
Yeah, most definitely. And like you said, since it's so rare, and like there's, so many things that can come into the equation. Like you said, even with like going to church, that may be something that maybe more of a challenge, just because there may not be someone that can care, for your daughter with such a, such a rare, disability. And, I think, that's where the challenging moments can be, as well as, just trying to find care for even those moments to where you can have time for maybe like a date night, even if it's once every other month, or once in a blue moon. I'm just sure that could be very, hard to just try to find time, even just for you and your husband too. So that's really important to, I hope that here in the future that there will be a lot more research and education on this, because I think it will be a lot more, I guess, easier when it comes to like for people to know, like, with these symptoms, or these side effects, what can you do in these situations, and how to take care of those situations. So, I'm
Hmm.
hoping here, I mean, I know we still got a lot of ways to go, just because it's just now kind of being doing a lot more research on here in the recent years. But, I'm hoping here a few years down the road, maybe it will be a whole different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like, we were talking about earlier and going on vacation, me and my husband have well, our family has only been on one vacation. We never had a honeymoon. And as a family, we went on vacation and everything went fine because we're all, Faron's familiar with all of us. But when I've taken her on trips, just me and her and with my family, and one time, that my family is from Chicago, so you know that. And so I took her to Chicago a couple years ago, and then we took her to the beach last year, and she was just overly stimulated being in a new environment and crying and fussy a lot. So it was hard to really enjoy it in a lot of moments. Like I'm just trying to go to bed and sleep, and here she is crying, and I've got my aunt and uncle in there like trying to help calm her down too. And like, there's only so much you can do. And I mean, when we went to the beach, she is not a fan of the beach, as
Mhm.
I really wanted her to be. Um, but it it got stressful where, you think of a vacation, it's supposed to be relaxing. It was not relaxing at
Mhm.
all. My medication didn't work. So, um, if we go on vacation, we're trying to like figure out the logistics of, is it something that she might enjoy where she's not going to be so upset, you know, being in all these different places and anywhere that's loud. Um, we've talked about going to Disney or Universal, go see Hogwarts. Um,
Yeah.
is she going to enjoy that? Is she going to stay calm for us to enjoy it?
Mm.
So it just makes everything difficult, even with her, to go somewhere. We have to figure out all the details and logistics and plans for her food and what all we need. When we went to Chicago or the beach, like, look at the back seat of the trunk, and 75% of what's back there is hers compared to two grown adults.
Mhm.
And everything else, she's so little, but she's so high maintenance. So, yeah, even like we try to have those moments just us, but then even when we try to go and do something enjoyable, like a vacation, like it's just trying to make sure that we're doing something that isn't going to cause more stress than what a vacation should be, you know?
hmm Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like you want to go on vacation knowing that it's not going to be a stressful time. You want to like have a fun, relaxing time. So like trying to find, the right place to where, she's not going to be, having a hard time, like adjusting to the environment. Like, like with Disney World, it may be a lot of people there or, like with the beach, there may be things with that, are a little bit more challenging for her. So I can see how trying to find a vacation spot, it's, challenging for sure.
Mm-hmm. It is more than I thought it was going to be. That was something that I wasn't prepared for her to not enjoy going on vacation.
So it makes you think like you had to almost be like one step ahead of like really trying to figure out the right perfect, vacation for you and your family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
So
really.
So yeah, I guess kind of leading into my last question, I think I want to talk about some of the positive stuff, that comes out of these moments where, we've talked, already some good things about like, you don't see nothing wrong with your daughter, like she's perfect just the way she is. And, I think, that's, amazing to hear for sure. But I guess my question for you, like as far as my final question, is almost like a two-parter. So my first question
Mm-hmm.
is like how has your daughter changed your life for the better? And then like kind of like a part two question within that question is like have you seen any changes within yourself that are like for the better, like compared to when you were without kids and without a husband?
I guess in changing my life for the better is, yeah, I never knew that I could love somebody as much as I do her. And to open my eyes to so many things, and she's perfect the way that she is, and in one way it makes me so happy to see that, you know, uh you always hear parents of new children, like the time goes by fast, and they're that first year they're up talking, walking, crawling, like, you meet reach all of those milestones, and here we are just on the very slow track of reaching those things. So we get to enjoy those milestones, and it's a huge celebration each time it's made. Like, it's not just yay, it's a one-time thing. Yes, we are over that hurdle, we did it. It's a huge deal the day that we will finally see her sit independently and not have to be propped up on something, for her to be able to stand and actually stand independently, or take her first steps without equipment, or even really right now to grasp and hold on to something and pick it up. And to do that for a longer than just a couple of seconds. Like, she plays with her toys, but a lot of it is like slapping and trying to make things make sounds and stuff, and she might hold on to a maraca or something for a couple seconds, and then she'll drop it. Now we know she can hold a finger real good. she, she'll hold your finger real good. But to hold a toy, it's different. And so it'd be a huge celebration to see her be able to do those little things that we take for granted. And that track of reaching those milestones, we're just on a very slow track. So it's like we get to enjoy it even longer. She's bigger, but we get to enjoy those reaching the milestones, and for a little bit longer. We get to enjoy. She's three over 3 years old, and she's still like having a 8-month-old. She's bigger, but she's at that level of development, I think. Um, but she is the happiest baby. Like, she's 3. She's not even a toddler to me. Like, she is just the happiest little thing. When everything's good and dandy and she's not feeling bad. Like, she was crying a little earlier, but she is just always so smiley and laughing. And if you give me your number, I'll send you some little just giggle videos. Even last night, and she's just like cracking up, and we're like, I want to know that joke because it seems awesome the way that you're laughing. Like, she will always put a smile on your face. So with all the bad comes more good. So those are the positives, the things that I see, and to make me a better parent than what I thought I could be. And I'm not perfect by any means, and it's very different from her to being a step mother and a neurotypical mother to 2 other kids. It's just different. So, like I say, you take the bad with the good.
Mhm.
But as compared to before I got married, before having kids, I didn't know where I was. I just, you know, I know exactly where I'm at. I know what I want. I know, what my responsibilities are. Before you get there, you're just like, okay, I'm just waiting. I'm
Mhm.
doing what I can while I'm waiting for all this stuff to happen. It's gonna happen. But when? When are you gonna find the right person to have this journey with? And I know you can relate to that. It's like you're waiting.
Yes.
So, and you have, like, before, you have more freedom to go on vacation and to go out with friends, and um you're not having to plan around, gosh, as a married couple, you're having to plan holidays with one family versus the other, and it just gets even more complex. And I know you know that from all your siblings, and like all their everybody's trying to make um their families meet and have your good holiday. And I absolutely love the Vance Christmas holiday party. It is awesome.
It's a good time, yes.
It is. I want to be there one year because it just looks like an awesome time. Um, but it just, all of those logistics. So, being single to being married to being a parent, it's just a different world. Um, is there any part of those questions I missed? I know there is.
No, I actually feel like you answered it really good. Both questions I feel like were addressed, and like that you brought, some really good answers out of that. Like with your, with the first question that I asked about like how has your daughter changed your life for the better? What I heard out of it is it sounds like, you've never knew the capability of how much you can love someone like until you had your biological daughter. And I think that's, amazing. And even like just being a lot more selfless, like you have to think your daughter before yourself when it comes to what
Mhm.
she needs. And I think that's something that I'll definitely have to prepare for whenever I become a parent, is knowing that like it's not about me no more, and it's not only about my future wife. It's going to be about this baby as well. And I know it's of course important to take care of yourself at times and have self-care, but at the end of the day, like being a parent is like number one when it comes to
Mhm.
that, because your child depends on you. And whether your child has a disability or not, your child is going to be looking up to you and like depending on you for guidance and for help. So just having to prepare yourself to be more selfless and more loving and patient too. Like I know patience is very key in these kind of areas, for sure, regardless of, what stage of life your kid is in. Like, I know there's always going to be that level of trying to be patient. Like you said, even with your, older, stepkids, there's, here comes the attitudes, the stuff that we went through when we were teenagers. And it's like, okay, let me prepare for this. This is happening. So it's like, even in those moments, like, we know we had to prepare ourselves to, be patient and, trying to figure out, our way around that, and just let's get through these years so that you're eventually grown up, and then we can become friends. It's like, almost in a
Right.
way. So
Right. And you
yeah, that's
also learn, like, another big thing is time management.
hmm
And ask any of my family members, like, I'm usually late to any get together. But for my time management to go around all of Farron's appointments, because she has an appointment, dear Lord, like almost every day. Where it's like to children's for physical therapy or occupational therapy and feeding, to the Bell Center that she goes for all of her therapy twice a week, to all of the other appointments that come in, whether it's to the children's rehab services or to neurology or gastroenterology or pulmonary or swallow study, or like there's just so much on our calendar that we just kind of have to coordinate and make sure to remember, okay, like we have to be there at this time. Like the other day, we almost missed her neurology appointment, and I was like, it's a good thing I looked at my calendar, or that would have been bad, because we needed that appointment. Um, and then to make sure that she has all of her supplies, because with not just her medicine for their epilepsy, but all of her emergency medicines, to have in hand and in stock where we can quickly grab it when it's an emergency. Her oxygen supplies, her feeding supplies and formula, because she is G-tube fed. Her equipment, to like gait trainer to help walk, or a huge stander that takes up half of our dining room, um, and all these other boxes. So it's just a lot to manage, and you know, between the appointments and the equipment and trying to find time to fit therapy at home into your day-to-day lives, because that's what you'll always hear is the therapist saying, well, it's not enough just to do it during her appointment, you have to do this at home, and consistency is key. Well, among everything else in your life, between working and family life and trying to do things at home, you have to fit in now therapy time, um, and to also do your self-care, to try to calm down and take a break at the end of the day. And so it gets stressful. And even with feeding, our goal is to give her lunch by mouth. But if we're on the go during the day, we can't do that. If we are um, or she's having a bad day or she's sick, you can't do that. Or if we are just tired, to sit down and take that hour to sit there and help her feed in a very specific way with her puree. I was so proud the other day, or we had 2 days in a row that she had a full 6-ounce jar of puree baby food. And that's huge. So I was so proud. That's a big moment for us. um, when every time we're in therapy, she only wants like a few bites, so to have a 6-ounce jar, of food, that's another big win. But again, it's like taking that time, that hour to set aside to give her that lunch. And it sounds like it's not that big of a deal, but when she can't feed herself, it's like most parents, you think about that. That's only like the first, maybe second year of their life that they can't feed themselves. But
hmm
after that, children typically do that themselves, or they'll grab the spoon and feed themselves, or it might be messy, but whatever. But it's for us, you have to sit down and take that hour and have patience and make sure that she's eating and getting it all. And, you know, so sometimes it could be easier just to plug her up to her belly and like, okay, it'll go off in a little over an hour and just give her water and we're done. Call it a day. Like, you know, but the G tube has helped a lot with her medicine and water intake, to I remember before she had her G tube, making sure that she got all of the medicine, all of her seizure medicine. And it was so frustrating to just see it just dribble out of the corner of her mouth. And I'm like, you're like, that dosage is so crucial. And to see it just come out, I'm like, no, we can't do that. But the G tube has helped to make sure she has that right dose. It's no problem. We're not fighting with her. She's going to get it. If she's sick, we know she's still going to get the water and the food and stuff that she needs. We're not going to have to force it down her throat just to make sure that she's hydrated. So there's like things that seem complicated, but it also makes life easier. We didn't want the G tube, but we all now realize it was the best thing that we could have done. So, because it really did make life easier, as much as we didn't want her to have that surgery. But it's, like I said earlier, just taking the good with the bad and coming to grips with the things that you need to change in your life and your day-to-day lives to take care of yourself, to take care of her, to make sure that she's, getting the care that she needs. But there's like, when I say that, that's like a very loose statement because it's so much more complex. And even certain toys, like we have special needs toys that I got a grant from Children's Rehab Services for over $500 to get these special needs toys. We really only got 7 things out of all of that, out of over $500, and we only got 7 little toys. Is how expensive they are. And I've got her room that's all like kind of sensory, loaded with things that kind of light up that are calming and for when she's upset, and it just being very sensitive to everything. Everything.
Yeah, it does definitely seem like there's a lot of challenges and a lot of things that you still have to go through as parents. But I'm glad to hear that, like, even though there are those hard moments, that there are those monumental moments. Even with her just simply taking in that 6-ounce jar of food is a big moment. And I think that just even goes to show that, like, as we are closing out of this conversation, just realizing that there may be some challenges, but at the end of the day, that it's a very rewarding moment of going through being a mom to to your daughter that has something like has this condition that that she's going through. And and I just really hope to see a lot more excuse me, a lot more like research done in this for everybody to truly understand what it takes for someone to go through something like this. Because even though, like, I've never heard of this in my life until I saw like your social media posts, like, I think
Doctors
even
haven't even heard of it. Like,
yeah.
most of her doctors are like, what's that?
Yeah,
Really?
that's what's crazy, is that, like, even people in the medical field that you would think know what it means don't even know what it is. So, I think it's just important for all of us to do, more research even in this area, and just to, try to be more compassionate and understanding towards, family members that have, a child or, sibling that's going through something like this. So, I think
Yeah.
just that. And then, like, one more final thing that I was thinking of was that even with my brother, like, even though it's not as, like, severe or challenging, like, he can do things on his own, like, dependently. There's some things that he can't do, like driving, cooking, stuff like that. But overall, I feel like having a family member or a loved one that has like a maybe a disability or that has special needs, I think is a very like humbling experience. Like it really makes you really think about how they're feeling and what they're going through. And like even like you
Hmm.
were just saying a few minutes ago that like you have things in her room that is going to help calm her down, whether it's lights or, sensory, kind of objects. I think that's just, you know, really awesome that like, there's even options like that, and or even like the kind of toys that she plays with. I just didn't even know that there was any kind of toys, like specific toys that like maybe she could or could not play with. So like this was definitely a big learning
Yeah.
experience for me.
Yeah, because we went to the store last weekend to get her um, some more toys, and it's disheartening to know, okay, she's 3 years old, but she can't play with toys that are for 3-year-olds. She doesn't know how.
Mhm.
She can't do that. So we're still getting toys that are for 1 year or less. Um, and that can get disheartening, gosh, especially for her birthday or Christmas, where you're expected to get all these toys and that family members don't know what to get her. So I had to come up with a wish list because you just don't know.
Mhm.
Um, and it's sad that toys for special needs children to make it easier for them to play with are so expensive. They are so expensive. Um, so we try to make the best of it and try to find things that are cheaper, that are easier for her to do. And thankfully, there's like other Facebook groups that's like, people trading toys and stuff, or selling special needs stuff for, discount prices that I haven't utilized, but I see it. Um, so it's it's a different world than I would have thought. And for, you know, to make that adjustment to cater to her. And I don't know, as close as our families have been and growing up, like I don't know the extent of Jeremiah's condition and if he ever went to therapy for developmental uh, stuff. Like I don't know, but it's
Mhm.
kind of been really eye opening to see the things that can be done in all of those different therapeutic things. I didn't know what a gait trainer was until she had to use it, or a stander, or a thero suit, which we don't have, but I really want, or even this upsee thing that she can take steps with you. Um, there's so much out there that you never know. It opens your eyes that there are things out there to help. You know, it's a matter of time for them to actually obtain those skills. And you always see, people with this condition or other conditions, a regression. For her, if she has a seizure, a really bad episode, or she's sick, she could have obtained a skill and she doesn't have it anymore.
Mhm.
Um, like when she was 9, we had started early intervention um, with the state at 7 months old after we saw that research team. And we had gotten to the point where she could sit independently and she was doing great. And then at 9 months old, she had a huge cluster of seizures and she still can't sit independently now. Like we went from to 9 months to now, and she's, you know, almost 3.5 and still can't sit independently. So it's something that we're still working on continuously. And, it's a matter of time. I have faith that she's going to get there. It's just a matter of when. Um,
Mhm.
and hopefully research does come out with these groundbreaking solutions for epilepsy or um, developmental delay to make things stronger, and feeding difficulties. And I don't know where it can go, but sky's the limit. I guess. You just have to have faith that they're going to get there and it's going to help. And, you know,
Hmm.
so we'll see. And for any other condition, I hope that there's other treatments that will really be life changing, not just for the child or the person, but for their families, to make, things a little bit easier, or for you to have those other moments. Like Fayron says mama, but mostly when she's really upset. And she's like, his mama makes her feel better, could calm her down or whatever. And it kind of makes everybody else a little jealous because she calls my name. We know that because as soon as I get her, she stops. She stops saying it. So that's why we know, like, that's what she's saying. And daddy's just waiting for her to say dada or sissy or nani or all these other things. Like, we just can't wait to hear her say her first word. But I know when it does, like, we'll throw a party. Everybody's invited. Like, we're just gonna be like, do it again, do it again.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's gonna be a great moment for sure. Like I loved like y'all will, definitely celebrate. People don't think about like, those are huge moments that like, people have probably, celebrated long before, kind of where like the age that your daughter's at now, and people don't think of it. They just think, oh, she or he said their first word, and they may be, 7, 8 months old, and they said their first words. But like with your situation, like whenever she says something more than just mama, I think that's like going to be a very big moment for sure. Just because that at this moment she depends on you to help make things better. But one day I know I hope that it's going to be a lot more progress with that and improvement to where she's going to be able to say more than just that. And I can't wait to hear that. And hopefully you get it on video.
Yeah. Oh, I will. And I will share it and scream it loud and proud. Like, we will have a huge party because it's just going to be so big. And anything like it, and any of those big moments, I will share it on Facebook for everybody to see.
Yeah, because I think just not too long ago, I think I saw that you posted a video of her like laughing, and I was like, that's like I love like those kind of videos where you just see like the positive and like the heartwarming side and like the funny moments, like you said, you're wondering like, well, what is she laughing about? Like I wish I knew I was like in
Right.
part, wondering what the joke was that made her laugh so hard at that. So, I
Yeah.
love those,
I,
videos for sure.
yeah. I'll share them all the time because they're always sure to put a smile on your face. I don't care what it is. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. We need more smiles nowadays. We got some crazy stuff going on in this world, so we need some more positive stuff out there. So I'm glad that you post some like really positive stuff, even with your daughter, and even those small moments of laughter and just happiness.
right. Did you watch that one I posted the other day? It was of Britain's Got Talent, but they were singing the song from The Greatest Showman, "This Is Me," and it
Oh,
was all like, if you get on there and watch it, but it was this whole group, this choir of singing "This Is Me," and it was all for special needs people and stuff. Like, I've never cried so hard at like a golden buzzer on these America's Got Talent stuff than I did right there because it was so moving, and I was just like, oh my god. So,
yeah,
but
I
if
gotta
you get
watch
on there and
that.
watch it, it was really good.
Yeah, I definitely need to look into that one because I know I feel like I'm a softie when it comes to those, especially just knowing, that I have a family member that's, that got special needs.
Hmm.
So I feel like that would like hit close to home. So I'll probably be the same situation that you were in.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so anyways, I think that is going to be it on this topic. I want to thank you again for being here because I feel like your story, even though, I said it's a very, you know, rare, situation that you've been put in, but I feel like it's a, story that like it's going to bring awareness to people's, minds, and like people are going to really take this in, and that I hope that this is like a inspiration to people to not only do more research, but like even being more considerate to the things that we say, to others that, are going through situations like this. And just even, if you're going through a crazy situation in life, just, knowing that the faith and community is super important through these challenges. So yeah, thank you again for being here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for doing this. So I think it
Yes.
was a really good topic and a good conversation for us to have.
Yes, absolutely. I enjoyed it very much. And viewers, I hope that you enjoyed this as well. Whether you are watching this on YouTube or whether you are listening to this on any of the podcast streaming platforms, I definitely appreciate your support either way. So, anyways, everybody, I hope that y'all have an amazing rest of your day or night, depending on when you're watching or listening to this. And I will see y'all on the next episode of Not Your Average Joel. Goodbye. Thank you, everybody that took the time to listen to this episode of Not Your Average Joel. My podcast is available not only on YouTube, but also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast from. I also have an Instagram page where you can see outstanding moments, behind the scenes, and even a funny moment or two from each episode at Not Your Average Joel Podcast. If you want to get in contact with me, then my Instagram page is probably the best way to do so through direct messaging. I appreciate any kind of support that you have given to this channel, whether you are a guest or a listener to this podcast. Once again, I thank y'all so much, and I look forward to sharing more of my life with y'all on the next episode of Not Your Average Joel. Goodbye.